Hi, I'm Niamh McFadden. I'm the creative director of Make Room. I am technically Irish, but I've grown up here in Singapore. So the inspiration is really tricky for me. The first thing I did was ask my husband, what does he want? And he actually came up with Tuscan countryside. So we've definitely used a little bit of that, but ultimately we've taken a whole mix of things. Definitely influenced by a lot of color we see in Morocco, so all of our rugs are Moroccan. Also, we've lived in London and my parents, like I said, are Irish. So that kind of more traditional English-Irish kind of aesthetic has played a little part in bringing in some pattern, some wall paneling, things like that. So it's a real mix, which I think also speaks a lot about me and my husband too. The entrance is essentially first impressions. So I wanted it to feel cozy as soon as you walk in because we're in a HDB estate, we're coming from the busy city. So as soon as you walk in, I wanted to feel kind of different and cozy and warm and inviting. We painted the walls in lime wash. We purposely only put one light in the ceiling so it doesn't feel too bright or overpowering. And then we did the wall paneling just to kind of make it feel different from the rest of the house. It really kind of zones that space. And ultimately it's about function, right? So we just kept it really simple with the console, a little lamp, a mirror, and that's all you really need for the entrance. Then you come into the rest of the house, and I have to say one of my biggest worries was the space we have between our display cabinet and our kitchen island. It feels like that's the one area in the house that we didn't have anything else that we needed to do with that space. We wanted the kitchen to feel bigger, so we did extend the island out. But actually, I'm really glad that we do have that space because it allows for some breathing room as you enter the home. You don't feel like super cluttered as soon as you walk in. So like I said, we extended the kitchen out. So we hacked the kitchen completely. It was a closed kitchen, about half the size. So we've made it a lot bigger, and the whole point of the kitchen was to have this massive island. I do think it might be the first real wood island in Singapore. I could be wrong, but we custom made that out of real reclaimed teak wood, so it's a really, really special piece. That kitchen island, it was actually made in two parts so that it can be moved in the future if we need, but the countertop itself is obviously one piece. We didn't want any joint lines there, but what we love about our countertops, which you see also from our backsplash at the cooker, is it's engineered stone. So it really has that really nice, real, authentic marble look. It's going to be long lasting and not as delicate as real marble. One of our favorite elements is also the pendants, which we actually kind of designed ourselves, but had it custom made by a maker in the Netherlands. So we chose the colors very specifically. We knew we wanted a lot of color in this home, but we didn't want it to feel overpowering. So for me, it was about bringing it in those more subtle ways. The dining was originally the third bedroom, so that's completely opened up. And it just allows that the living room feels a lot more cozy and spacious, and that you have a more dedicated dining off to the side. The lime wash, it can be tricky. Asking, your traditional old school uncle painters to figure out a new technique. To me, lime wash paint is so much easier than regular paint. You don't need to be precious, just go for it, right? And just have that fluidity, but that sometimes doesn't come across so well. Things get lost in translation. So I just came over one weekend and I just did the last coat myself just because, I'm gonna be living here, I'm gonna see all the little imperfections. But now also it means I can hopefully explain a little bit better to the painters too. Coming into the living room, I have to say that our sofa is very good for naps. We wanted it to be as big as possible, so we've really gone as wide as possible. When we were coming towards the end of the project and I marked out with masking tape how big our sofa was going to be, I think my husband did have a small panic attack. He thought it was way too big, but it worked out, and I'm very happy with it. Behind the sofa, you'll see there are leather straps, which are kind of a purple burgundy kind of tone. So we just wanted to subtly bring that back in with the pendants. And then we have the orange bar stool. So there is a lot of color happening, but I hope it all sort of works out. we did the feature wall, which might be a little bit different from what you would typically think of as a feature wall in Singapore for our TV wall. I knew I needed a space to hide the cables for the TV. I also knew you need extra storage, right? You can see there's not so much built-ins, but for the TV wall, I just brought in a little bit of built-ins under the TV for that kind of console look, and finished it off with some open shelves because as a stylist, I need those moments for styling, right? So that's just a way of bringing in a bit of personality and character as well to the space. Okay, so now onto the common bathroom. We didn't hack the bathroom, we just overlaid. I love how much you can do, how much time you can save, how much money you can save, and still the functionality is absolutely there, right? We did do a thin layer of waterproofing, and we screeded the whole walls before we tiled, so it is functionally good, but it just makes a world of difference. We went with the two-tone tiles because, again, we love color, and you know, I'm using these tiles almost every day for clients, so we are a little bit limited in Singapore on what's available, but these are two tiles that I love and we haven't used too often with clients, so I don't feel like I'm in a client's home. But I love the Kit Kat tiles mixed with one of my favorite colors is teal, so you will see little elements of that throughout the house. But one of the main requirements my husband had was to have patterned tiles and a patterned sink. Luckily, we found a patterned sink. It wasn't my go-to, but luckily we found one that suited the color palette we already had for the room. And then I love the kind of checkered diamond lay of the tiles on the floor. It feels quite playful, which I think suits us. And it's the common bathroom, so it's where guests are gonna be coming in. So it's just a bit of fun in there. Coming into the master bedroom, it feels really warm and cozy, which is exactly what you want after a long day. We are out of the house quite a lot during the week, but on the weekends we are really homebodies. So we don't actually spend too much time in the room except for sleeping. So it does feel really appropriate to walk in there. All the walls are lime washed, so it's really warm and cozy. We have a custom headboard by Bluefink, which I just love. I love the kind of fluidity of the shape, the funky colors in the headboard. It contrasts a lot with the walls. We did kind of design it around our bedside lamps because they're red and we took them back from London. Red in a bedroom is not my go-to color for a bedroom. It's quite an energetic color, right? So I just wanted to bring in some of that red so it didn't feel random with the headboard, but then toned it all down with the lime wash paint. I had the vanity custom made because I knew I needed space for my jewelry, I knew I needed space for my hair stuff, so I had very specific requirements, and I knew I needed a full-length mirror, but then that was the only place my vanity could go, so I couldn't have a full-length mirror and a wall mirror, so another reason for custom making the vanity was so I could have the flip-up mirror. So that works really well. And then of course our massive wardrobes, which I'm super happy with, loads of storage, didn't need to worry about compromising on that. I think I've decided my favorite room in the house is potentially the master bathroom. It's a tough one, but I feel that that bathroom has kind of a maturity to the design that I think will stand the test of time. Some people might say that my stripes, tiles, and my viola marble are super trends at the moment, and how could I say in 10 years it's still gonna be cool? Yeah, maybe not, but I love it now. I've loved it for a long time, and I walk in there and I just feel really, I just love being in there, right? And that's where you start your day, it's where you end your day, so I do think that's important for the bathroom too. So lighting is one of those things that I think is so important in any space, but specifically a home. I do want to feel cozy and warm at all times when I'm in my house. So that's specifically why we went for the dimmer effect, because to be able to change the mood depending on the function or what you're doing that day has been amazing so far. So really at the night we bring it right down. When we're having guests, you know, we don't need all the lights on, or if we need some on, we can at least dim them. I did want something fairly discreet. We purposely do not have a false ceiling because the ceilings aren't that high and we didn't want to lose more height. So it did mean maybe a little extra hacking and maybe a little extra cost because it costs a lot to, you know, get each individual lighting point in. So I didn't want something overpowering. There's enough going on down here. So I went with something kind of as short as possible, something that matches the ceiling. I'm not trying to make a statement out of it. Ultimately, it's functionality, right? I needed it to work, and they're not super glaring. So that was also really important for me, that sort of sensitivity to light. If you're in the office all day and you come home, you don't want more glare in your eyes. So what does design mean to me? It's such a probably difficult question to answer. We're talking about the residential space, so design outside of residential spaces will mean different things, but ultimately at home it's about feeling comfortable, about feeling happy, and I think seeing a reflection of yourself in your own interior is what makes that all kind of come together. So bringing in those colors, those textures, those personal moments is really going to be very important for a successful design. You know what, I think I'm really lucky. Being in the industry, I was super prepared for the entire renovation, so there wasn't something that really struck me as a surprise or something that I really struggled with. I have to say my lighting plan was the thing I was the most nervous about. It wasn't a difficulty, but I was nervous because you don't know until it's done. We used to be rushing over after work to see the progress that day because we didn't have lights. And finally, the first day that we could come over after the lights were installed and we put it on, it was still a mess. But once we saw, to be completely honest, once we put the lights on, we were just like, wow, this is home. Like, that was the first time we really saw that this is the vision that we had been wanting. It's just about managing the process and managing your expectations along the way and just being flexible, right? There's always going to be changes you need to make along the way. I'm lucky that I'm in the industry, so I was a bit prepared. We work with Shiok all the time, and you know, as designers, we know a lot, but ultimately we rely on different specialists and experts within our industry to advise us too. So I really appreciate the kind of level of professionalism, the honesty, and the support that we get with our lighting plans. There's such a big range, right, of different types of lights, so it's just good to be able to lean on professionals that truly understand what they have, and also being able to listen to me this time as the client and being able to advise, and ultimately that was the big difference for me.